Hey, welcome to the Uncommon Life podcast, the show where Lewis, Rich, and myself delve into topics that are helping us build towards being in the best shape and health of our lives. It's fair to say that we're quite far into that journey. That said, we're changing our minds on various topics as we learn more about ourselves, and there's also some things that we each find uniquely challenging. Our hope is that you can relate to some of our journeys and challenges, and that you find it inspiring and useful as you build towards being in the best shape and health of your life. So, episode 5. All three of us are at a point where we're shifting direction a bit with our health and fitness goals. In this episode, we spend some time talking about the new direction we're now heading, why we're changing direction, and also how we're now structuring our training and nutrition to achieve these new goals. This is an episode which I think a lot of people will find useful. It may well end up giving you some ideas that help shape your own health and fitness goals, and also how you might best go about achieving them. Enjoy the episode. So yeah, what we'll cover today, actually all three of us are kind of shifting gears a little bit, right? In terms of what we're focusing on and our goals. So I think it would be pretty good to kind of hear a little bit more about what our goals are, for at least like the short to mid-term, and then basically how we're structuring our training and nutrition and anything else to help achieve those goals. And like I said, I think this is a pretty good time to have this chat because I know that all three of us have been kind of reflecting on where we're at and thinking about what the short to mid-term holds for us. So we've been kind of crafting new plans. So, and also pretty cool to like check in maybe 4 weeks, 8 weeks from here and basically see how things are going as well. So I think just a matter of diving into each person's goals. So I don't know who wants to start.
I think you should.
Do you? I thought you might say that.
Me?
Like your kettlebells, mate. I'll dive right into it. You went with us last week. Come on, mate. You take the floor.
All right.
Rich can go first. Rich can go first.
I mean, I listened to last week's episode, and it sounded like you're pretty pleased that I wasn't with you last week. I'm going to pull you up on that, you asshole. So I suppose if I think my current goals, I have to almost look backwards to say a year ago when I started on kind of what I would consider to be a longer term plan. I mean, we discussed, a couple of weeks ago about my kind of back condition and what that meant, and then kind of like trying to think about that long term. So my goal today is actually just me reaching a point I planned to get to almost a year ago, just over a year ago. And I feel that I'm ready to transition now to the next stage of that longer term plan. So that was very much getting my movement patterns to a place where I felt good and strong and not achy. Getting my fitness level to a place which I felt happy with. And then aesthetically, there was the side effect of that, of course, is you're dropping body fat as part of it. And I have dropped from a year ago, just shy of 7 kilos. Just over a year ago, about kind of 40, 50 months, about 7 kilos. And a big chunk of that is obviously muscle mass, and a big chunk of it's kind of body fat. But I've just had a holiday, as you guys know, felt great on holiday. And now I'm ready to kind of go back and really try and get put some more functional strength into the body. I feel that I've got the movement patterns working well. I think the form's very good. I've been kind of playing with my kind of squatting and my deadlifts and my kind of overhead work for the last 6 months, but lighter weight. And I've managed to avoid any injury. I feel really good in those movements, which I didn't. If I went back, let's say 18 months, 2 years ago, I definitely didn't. And then it's taken me a while to get to it. And so my goal now is to really try and get as strong as possible. And not in a silly way, like I'm not entering strongman. I don't mean anything silly, but just really strengthen the body in the core movements, which I care most about. And so that is really what the next, I think really for the next year is what it really looks like. But initially it's going to be kind of, a 6 to 8 week plan where I'm going to increase my amount of strength training I'm doing. I'm going to decrease the amount of cardio I'm doing to make room for it. I'm going to increase the amount of calories I've got going in. And my goal is to try and move the needle on the big movements in the next kind of 6 to 8 weeks. So that is varieties to squats, varieties to deadlifts, varieties to overheads.
Rich, super quick. So it's like, is strength your main goal then? How does kind of like muscle mass and stuff fit into that?
So my strength is a goal, but it's not like the kind of, I can't do, at least I don't believe I can do, and the low rep range, super high weight, 1 rep max type strength training. So if I would say, right, I'm going to do, 6 sets of 4, and they were going to be like near my limit, I think for me personally, I run the risk of injury at a level I'm not comfortable with. Like so I wouldn't do a traditional strength training program because I think everyone's aware of it. That effectively, the lower, to get the biggest strength gains, you want to be doing lower amounts of reps, higher weight, and so big rest in between, whatever else. I'm not really going to be doing that. I'm very much around kind of the lowest I would go would be around 8 reps in a set. So yes, muscle mass really will be kind of, if I look at the indicators of success in the next 6 to 8 weeks, what I'd be really happy with, I'll be happy that all of the movements I've got lined up, I've made incremental progress on the amount of weight I'm moving and how easy that weight feels, using great form, rest and whatever, and that I have increased muscle mass. Like, they would be great goals. If I can pull those off while not adding on too much body fat, like really try and keep that as lean as possible, then that'll be a massive victory. I'd be really happy with it. But obviously I expect there to be some fluctuations next 6 to 8 weeks. But if I get out of the muscle mass, it'll be great.
And another question on that, like, strength is pretty easy to measure, right? How would you measure the muscle mass kind of goal?
I think I would assume if I'm getting stronger, that I am probably adding muscle mass.
A good way to do it.
I think it's a fairly linear type thing.
Can we get like a shirtless pic today, and then we'll get a shirtless pic in 4 weeks, and then we'll tell you whether you've gained some muscle.
No, I don't trust you. We're going to leak it.
But weekly at the beginning of the podcast, you could just take your top off and give us a weekly kind of recap of like where you're at.
Podcast.
That'd be great.
I don't trust either. Knowing you guys, you'll blackmail me, put it on Instagram or something. I mean, I do. Look, no.
Rich is thinking about it then. He was like thinking,
I was thinking like behind the scenes with you guys. I obviously wouldn't care. Like, I don't know if I trust you not to blackmail me and put it out there. I'm just going through it.
So, I really like the strength focus. And I think for me, though, I guess I just want to get into the weeds a bit. So, because I think having a strength focus goal is a really important goal. Like, strength does help so much other stuff. So when you're feeling physically strong, it just impacts everything, every other day life stuff. So picking up your kids or whatever it is, like putting your 8-year-old on your shoulders if they're tired and you need to walk around with them, all that kind of stuff. So have you done like a base test of your current lifts? Or which ones are you testing? Like squat, deadlift, bench? Is it all barbell stuff? Have you got your current maxes? What's the goal? What would be a really good goal over, say, the next 3 or 6 months? And then what program are you looking to follow to achieve that? So I think it'd be good to get into like some of the weeds.
So many questions. I mean, awesome. So I suppose, unlike, I think if I was starting completely fresh, then you're absolutely right. I would go do some kind of base level benchmarking around each key movement I care about. I'm not starting from that position. I'm obviously starting from a place where I've been thinking about this for a very long time. So I've been optimizing the movements that I know work well for me. So, for example, let's use a squat. I won't do a barbell back squat because I know for me, loading through the top of the spine across the back causes me a couple of issues. One of them is that I don't have the shoulder mobility to get the form nicely. It doesn't feel like a great movement for me. However, what I have discovered in the last 6 months is working through all the other variations is that landmine squat works really well for me. Goblet squats work well for me. Slight ankle raise really helps. Heel raise, because I've got some ankle mobility issues, works well for me. So what I've got is, a long period of data from all of those workouts where I've established what my max is. And I've done various rep ranges. I've done 5 reps. I've done 12 reps, 15 reps, to a point where now I'm really comfortable with what my 1 rep max would be ish if I assume that, let's say, 5 reps is around 70% of 1 rep max. So I'm at a place where I could take all those movements, and I have done, and said, right, well, I'm going to be doing this variation of squat, and this variation of squat looks like this. Great. that's my base. And so now I'm just going to take that and now move it forward. So I'm starting from a place where I've got like a lot of data in all the core movements, and the movements I care most about, which probably you guys would be very used to, would be they're big compound movements. So they are going to be squat, they're going to be deadlift. I know deadlift is a bit controversial. Some people don't like them because of the back mobility and whatever else. I like the deadlift. I've actually I've got an open hex bar to take some of the pressure off the lower lumbar spine.
Is that what you use then, an open hex bar instead of a straight bar? Okay.
I start off with a
like share.
Yeah, so I start off with your normal Olympic bar. Yeah. And then I've progressed that now to an open hex bar. Again, I've just altered everything
much less impact.
Exactly. Just focus on.
Yep.
I'm getting tightness in a certain area. Right. Let's not push that. Let's move away. Find another. And like the bench is another one. I have no issue with bench press. Actually, I have the mobility to do it, but I prefer using dumbbells and having the shoulders slightly in. So therefore, same thing. I won't be doing kind of your flat kind of barbell bench press. I'll be doing dumbbell flat bench where I can just have the kind of a slight degree angle on the press. So they're the big movements. So a squat movement, a hinge movement, a pressing movement, a pulling movement, and an overhead movement. They're kind of built in, and then I'll be doing kind of a series of those throughout the week.
You mentioned you've got your new double kettlebells. Are you going to be doing double kettlebell presses? Is that going to be one of the exercises?
That is one of my movements, yeah. One thing I like about kettlebells is actually the ability to walk around with them. So farmer carries is obviously like a great movement. And then a movement I was doing a lot when I was away, actually, because of limited equipment, was kettlebells overhead and just walking around while you're holding them overhead. Like, it's just a nice way to kind of force shoulder stability, core stability, and then I have got some kettlebells, but I just didn't have enough. And I think when we talk about strength, just to clarify, because I know this is really important to you, and I've seen this a lot to your workouts. I care more about strength in everyday life. Yeah. So one of the things that I think at the gym is you get really strong in a particular movement. The issue with that is a lot of those movements don't naturally translate great to everyday life. So, if you go, I think you earlier saying, pick up the child and put them on your shoulders. Yes, you need the strength to move the weight, but also it's in funny angles and funny positions. And so I really want my gym workouts to enable me to build kind of all-round strength for everyday life as I get older. So like things like kettlebells, the sandbags I've just ordered as well. It's really, a lot of it, I think I'm ready to strengthen the whole body versus just a singular movement in the gym. So that's a big part of what I'm kind of trying to push towards as well. When I say strength, I don't just mean, yes, I can now bench an extra couple of kilos than I could a month ago. Yeah. It's now going to be, not only can I bench them, but also actually I just feel that my muscle groups are stronger to move weight in awkward positions without getting injured or risk injury.
Yeah.
So you're going to have some consistency in obviously the movements you do over the next 6 to 8 weeks, and you're just looking to get progressively stronger in those over the 8 weeks, right?
Yes.
Essentially. You might need to go get your doorbell, by the way.
Was that the doorbell?
That's my delivery. You carry on, and I'll be back shortly.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. When he said the landmill squat, was it landmill squat? What did he say?
Landmine
squat. What's that?
So it's kind of like I have a landmine attachment, and I could probably just even try and bring it up. That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? Hold on a sec.
Oh, can you like share screen on here? Oh,
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, let's have a look. Get all techie. Let's do that. Let's bring this podcast to teams and everything these days. Share the exercises. Great.
So that one will probably work. So.
I don't feel he really wanted to tell us what his current weights are.
So again? What's that?
Did you hear that, Rich?
Tell you what current weights?
I don't think he wanted to tell us what his current weights are. So to say, I'm currently using a 24 kg goblet squat. I would love to use a 32 over the next 8 weeks and get 8 reps on it.
Oh, I could share that. I don't give it that. I mean, there you go, the landmine.
I also landmine squat was.
So I would do a landmine squat right now, depending on how many reps I'm doing. But let's say I'm doing 12 reps up at 40 kilos. So it'll be 2 blue plates for me.
Yeah, nice.
On a bar, and I'm using an Olympic bar, 20 kilo Olympic bar. So that'd be 60 kilos for 12 reps. Of that would be my standard kind of comfortable position. And then if I turn that to a thruster, which includes pushing it above head, I would then drop that down to kind of 30 kilos on the bar.
That was great that you just put that video on there, Daniel. I love that.
Yeah, we should actually do more. Did you hear any of the sound of that video?
Yeah. Well,
I didn't hear any of the sound.
It started because it was a bit weird because it started playing the sound off in my ears and then I muted it.
I didn't hear it.
So like going a little bit higher level, then it sounds like you're obviously going to be focused on muscle mass and also strength over that kind of 6 to 8 week period. But how are you like broadly structuring your training program? Like what does it look like on a week to week basis at a kind of macro level? How are you putting it together?
Yeah, so actually, Daniel, obviously I sent it to you, didn't I? Like literally 2-3 days ago. So it's an open question. To get feedback and look at it.
And you stole half of it from mine anyway. So
and I did take a lot of inspiration
on it. I'm not asking the question for the benefit of Lewis and the viewers. I know it.
Yeah, for the benefit of Lewis and the viewers. So
I can just answer it if you want to chill out.
You go for it. Yeah, that sounds good.
Go
Daniel has a great personal trainer who's done some really, really clever programming. And when I was on holiday, my previous program I was using had ended. I timed it that way to end when I went on holiday. So I stole Daniel's workouts and did them when I was on holiday, and I loved them. I thought they were great. They were really interesting. They worked well for me. I really enjoyed them. So I used that as a base and then tailored them around kind of my goals and my needs and added into it. So the way that I'm kind of looking at the next chunk of time ahead is three full body workouts a week, which is weight orientated. And each of those workouts, 3 full body workouts a week. And then Sundays is my cardio day. It's like a weird therapy thing I have. Sunday mornings is always my time where it's just endurance or cardio of some sort. It's always has been. It's something I like. So that will be probably a bike session or, some kind of intensity. So probably an hour of zone 2 followed by half an hour of VO2 max type stuff. Like that will always be my Sunday mornings. That's a psychological need more than anything else. I think there's no real answer apart from that. The 3 full body weight training sessions will be structured in a way where they're superset orientated. So there'll be 3 supersets, like an A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. Those supersets, the first one is always the heaviest one. So the first exercise is always the big movement I care most about. So it'll either be the bench, the squat, or the deadlift. Followed by a supplementary, the supersets, you're just going in between them, short rest and go again, and then it'll be 3 sets. And then, same for another superset of different muscle groups, another superset of another muscle group. So that, for example, might be something along the lines of, a push and a pull to begin with, maybe bench and a row. It might be kind of a squat and an overhead. There'll be kind of balancing, allowing one muscle group to rest while I work another muscle group. Complementary. And then each of those workouts has a finisher, and that's exactly one of the big things I have stolen from your personal trainer, Daniel. Is I think they're really well structured. They're great. A finisher is where you have 2 or 3 exercises that you just do for, let's say, 3 rounds with no rest, and they're quite powerful exercises. So I think one of them is it's like pull-ups, plyo push-ups, and wall sits, or it might be they're just interesting movements. Farmer carries followed by kettlebell swings followed by an ab workout of some sort. Like they're just simple movements that just kind of get the heart rate going at the end of the workout, and I quite like those. So that's kind of the structure. And then what's important for me is at the end of the week, the total volume of each kind of major movement is significant. So I don't just do squats on a Monday and that's the only squatting I'm doing. That you will find that I am working that movement in the other workouts too, but they're just in either slightly different forms or they have less weight or less structure. So for example, let's say if I'm squatting on a Monday and the squat on the Monday is the heavy one. So let's say it's 8 reps. Let's say it's kind of, a landmine squat on a Monday. On the next workout, which will be a Wednesday or day 1 and day 2, that Wednesday will probably have a squat movement in there, but it might just be bodyweight squats, or it might be step ups, it might be lunges, it might be goblet squats, but it might be 12 reps with slightly lighter weight, whatever. It's just still working the same muscle group, but just slightly different form to ensure that there's still plenty of volume through the body. And that's the structure, and I'm looking forward to it. I think it should be good fun. And for me, that's like. That is a good hour's workout. That'll take an hour, but it'll be good and fatiguing.
So 3 full body weights, 1 kind of cardio session. Are you doing any other cardio outside of that 1 cardio session? Or
and then I just keep my activity high. For me, walking is naturally part of my life. So I always walk for my condition requires me to walk, and it's also a mental thing now. So I generally like get up and get going first thing in the morning anyway. So I would generally get an hour's walk in when I wake up, and then I generally try and sneak another kind of 45 minutes to an hour walking throughout the day at some point, even if it's just around the house or on a treadmill.
It's so time consuming, isn't it? Like once you start to set a step goal, you're like, Jesus Christ, this is like an hour and a half commitment every day. Like,
and you can't help, right? When you're walking, like, oh, let's get this open. I'm just going to start running. Like, just get it out of the way. It's pain.
That's the point, because running isn't walking, right?
Exactly, yeah. So no, it's definitely not great. And I get so annoying. I actually bought a treadmill so I can actually be productive while walking.
But that's good timing for the winter as well, because that's one of the most annoying things about having a step goal is the weather. It's pretty weather dependent, unless you're just going to suck it up and do like an hour's walk in the rain.
In Sydney. To
be honest,
I know. Being in Australia, it's great. You can walk 11 months of the year.
But yeah, walking. I know it's really good for you, and everyone says it's great for you, and it is. Like totally, especially if we think about longevity. You know what you're going to do when you're in your 80s. Like, I think it's important. But damn it, it's a very annoying method of doing cardio. Like, it's a very inefficient. If you base it purely on energy output, calorie burn, whatever, it's you have to really get into it for mental health reasons, I think, more than anything else.
I'm mindful of time as well. We haven't covered your food yet, which is probably going to be a pretty important component to reach your goals, right? So, like, how are you structuring your nutrition and your food to achieve your goals?
Yeah, I mean, this is the most exciting part of it. I've been on a low-calorie diet for a very long time. For me, low-calorie diet, like for someone who is kind of, if we use a basal rate calculator, I've been on around 1,900, 2,000 average calories per day, which has been a real struggle. Now it's worked in terms of what I had to get achieved, but it's not been fun. So now I'm going back to eating properly. So I'll be doing kind of the next kind of 3-4 weeks at around 2,300 calories per day, 200 grams of protein minimum per day. That'll be my daily average. Obviously, it'll fluctuate over the week. And just eating well. And then I intend to slowly increase that up each time as well. So my goal would be to really finish the year on 2,700 per day. And again, high protein. My balance is generally 40%, 40% protein, 30% carbs, 30% fats is generally where I'd like to sit. So I intend that to be the case. Again, as always, whole foods as much as possible. Like, just avoid the processed food and then just eat good quality whole food. That's the plan.
Good plan. I look forward to hearing about the results over the next 4 to 8 weeks with the strength goal.
Yeah, and so I'll share the workout with you actually in the WhatsApp chat, so you can get your thoughts as well, because some of it is actually also based on some stuff you've been doing too. So there's some lessons in there.
Daniel.
And then, well, okay. So before we shift on to me, just one question for Rich then. What do you think is going to be like the biggest challenge for you with these like new set of goals and this slightly restructured plan? What do you think you're going to find particularly hard?
It's kind of weird. This actually feels more natural for how I like to work out anyway. In fact, the last 6-9 months has been the unnatural bit where it's been quite different. So for me, this actually feels more like, okay, yeah, cool. I'm going back into more strength for focus rather than more kind of cardio focused. And like, I've struggled an awful lot with losing size, as in I've lost a lot of physicality to focus on health, where this is kind of going back to that again and eating properly, which I definitely suffer from hunger. So my wife is thrilled that I'm going to eat properly again. So this is it feels like I'm going back to kind of what I enjoy most.
So it might even be easier.
It might. I think it's going to be easier. Like, I'm really excited to get into the gym this afternoon. Which is a great place to be, right? You want to be excited to get the workout done.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Like, I'm really excited to actually get in there and start kind of moving the weights around and whatever. The bit which I will struggle with is to facilitate this and really facilitate putting on muscle mass. I've got to ease off on quite a lot of the kind of the cardio work that I do, the endurance work I've been doing. So, I bike a lot, and that has been a really big deal for me. And so I'm going to have to get used to not doing things I've got quite used to. So I think, like in my last month's summary, I think I did, 300 and something or other miles on the bike. And that's going to come right back down, right back down to probably only going to be doing kind of, maybe 20 miles a week kind of thing to just facilitate the change.
That's a big jump.
I think that's going to be, so I'm going to have to play with that a little bit. So I'd love to be in a place where it's more balanced, but I just know that I've got to figure out what the volume level is and what the volume my body can take. And when I up the volume on the supersets, and therefore a lot more volume on the joints and whatever else, what's that going to mean for all the other things as well? So there's a bit of a balance to that, Daniel. I think that's the struggle. The struggle is just giving my body time and not rushing, and seeing how I settle over the next kind of 4 to 6 weeks. And of course, the real struggle will be if suddenly I start piling on body fat because I've upping the calories, my body isn't adapted to it quick enough. And so I've got to do that steady and slowly. But it's a long-term game. Like I said in the very beginning, I've been preparing for this moment for a very long time. And again, I'm really comfortable just expecting results to take 12 months. And I think that mentality means it's fairly kind of relaxed. I don't expect strength. Like, I'm not 21. I can't expect to be increasing my I can't go increase my squat by 5% every week. Like, that's not going to happen because of like I say, I'm old. So therefore, it's being much more realistic about how long it takes to increase strength.
Nice. It's going to be interesting to check in 8 weeks' time and see how the strength's going and see how you feel the body composition is switching up.
I'm looking forward to the topless videos.
Yeah.
Just for you.
That we can share on
Just post it in the WhatsApp channel
once a week,
and I promise we won't pull it out here as a collage. I promise. Man.
I don't believe a word of that. Start photoshopping my face onto SEMA.
Let's pivot. What are your goals, man?
I think mine's going to be fairly quick because there's a lot of similarities to Rich's. And like he just said, he stole half my shit anyway, so I don't have to talk too much about it. No, like very similar to Rich. Like in the last 3 months, I've been on a pretty strict cut. Like really controlling my calories at 1900, doing an awful lot of activity, and I've lost about, I think, 5.5 kilograms over the last 12 weeks. But man, it feels longer than 12 weeks, and I think that's because I've actually really been focused on trying to lose body fat and lose weight for probably the best part of a year. But the 6 to 9 months that came before that quite strict 3 months, some of the consistency wasn't there, some of the discipline wasn't there, so I didn't really get the results. So technically I probably wasn't in as strict a deficit as the last 3 months, but it feels like I've been going on this journey of trying to cut weight for like a year, and I'm pretty pleased with where I'm at in terms of how things have shifted around, like body wise, and I haven't lost much strength, or I haven't gained strength, but I probably stayed about static, and I feel really good. But it's time for a change. I think it's diminishing returns if I try and push any further. So like Rich, I'm happy to go into a kind of phase now where my goals are really twofold. Actually, my core goal really is to gain lean muscle. That's what I want to be doing. Yeah. And like Rich, I can imagine myself having this goal all the way through to the summer next year, where I might then cut. And I want to get stronger. And obviously, getting stronger is going to be in terms of gaining muscle, one of the ways you're going to be doing that is getting stronger as well. So like Rich, it's gain lean muscle. I don't want to put too much body fat on, so I'm going to be keeping an eye on the mirror. I want to do this very slowly, very carefully. So lean gain is really kind of like how I'm thinking about it, but it's gain muscle, gain strength. Like that's my goal now, which is, very, very different from the last year or so.
Nice. And you did mention to me the other day how excited you were about doing some of the workouts. Have you enjoyed them then over the past week?
Yeah, like last week was my first week of being on the new program, and it is more enjoyable. I think just the switch up is more enjoyable, and we'll talk about like how I'm structuring my training to kind of achieve all of that. But like I really enjoyed the first week on the new plan.
I think it's important to emphasize just here as well, though, because Richard said how excited he is about going into the gym. You're saying how excited you are about kind of like hitting your one. Just how important it is to mix things up occasionally and actually reset what your goals are. Because if it's getting to the point where you're just feeling a bit blah, then just like change it up and switch it up and think, what do I want to do next? It's like, do something that's going to make it fun and enjoyable. Yeah. And you're both super excited about it. I mean, when I talk to mine, I'm quite excited about what I'm planning on doing. So actually having a goal and changing things up really does light a bit of fire and get you a bit more excited. So that's definitely a good thing to underline.
Yeah, I think this time has been coming for a long time for me and Rich, right? I think we both kind of, one of our learnings from the last kind of year or so is really you don't want to be in a deficit for a really long time because it just becomes exhausting and draining. Probably 6 to 8 weeks is going to be the longest for me going forward. So yeah, I'm like really keen and excited to shift into a new phase. And I talked a bit about how I'm going to measure it. I'm going to be pretty chill about it. I just want my strength to be going up, preferably on a weekly basis. But as I look over the next sort of 6 to 8 weeks, I want to be getting stronger across the movements I'm doing fairly consistently. I'm going to keep an eye on the scale. Ideally it's shifting up a little bit. And ideally in the mirror, I'm staying about as lean as I am. Maybe I'll lose a little bit of it, but what I don't want to be doing is putting on too much body fat. So I'll just be keeping an eye on the strength week in, week out, and I'll be keeping an eye on the scale in the mirror and, not getting too technical or obsessed about it. But ideally you want to see those things shifting roughly the right way.
Have you got some specific, have you taken any kind of like measurements on the strength side of things? So are there any particular movements that you're going to be tracking or monitoring?
No, the movements, like I don't know how consistent the movements are going to be because obviously Jamie programs for me. They're certainly consistent over a 4-week block, but then he usually changes them up for the next 4 weeks. So I'll at least be able to see over a 4-week period whether I'm kind of gaining strength on those consistent movements. They may well show up in the next training block as well, so we'll have to see. But at least on every 4-week training block, I want to be making sort of pretty significant progress on how much either weight or reps I'm adding to the bar. I should be feeling strong.
I approach things fairly different. I do approach things a little bit differently. And I like to have 2 or 3 key exercises and really hone in on them.
Kind of like proper benchmarks.
Yeah, real benchmarks of those are and I do a proper testing day and it's not always necessarily having to be a really heavy weight. So for me, when I was doing my weighted vest, it would be a max set with like the 12 kg. And it was a one day I could do 7, and then testing it like 6 to 8 weeks later, and I could get 9. And I was like, good, that's definitely improved. So, but I like to have like 2 or 3 real specific things that I focused on, that I tested. And I think to your point, Rich, earlier around like not testing really heavy weights as well. It doesn't have to be really heavy weights. So it doesn't have to be there are other ways of doing it. So it could be something that you could do between 6 to 8 reps, and then you just you keep the weight the same, but you try and do more reps. And if you can get 8 to 10 reps out of the same weight, you've gained strength. So I think it's just kind of interesting to there's different ways of dicing it.
There is, but I mean, it's worth noting, I think, that's completely true, and I have to do it that way as well. But there is a difference physiologically with regards to how your CNS fires for super heavy weight versus repetition of weight. So if we look at, let's say, doing a 12 kilo vest for 20 reps of whatever is, let's say squats, for example, that's very different on the body than loading 150 kilos on the back and doing 1. Like completely. They are very fundamentally very different asks of the body. So I think you're right, by the way, and I'm definitely aligned to your way of thinking, especially because of, like I said, an age thing does play a role in this, and my frailness of my spine plays a role in it too, which is, I think, you can definitely use benchmarking of higher volume. But I just think it's important when we kind of, if we're intellectually honest around strength as a concept, then I think, lifting heavy stuff is actually quite an important thing as well. We have to kind of just kind of, be conscious of our ability to move heavy weight, because sometimes we need it. And I think that's what kind of really resonating for me actually at the moment, which is fast forward. I don't know, it's a weekend. I was on holiday recently, right? We have to move a load of suitcases around. Yeah. And okay, suddenly you've got it's not that heavy, 2 suitcases, let's say they're about 30 kilos each, but there's a big, you see it, and you see everyone at the luggage place in the airport, and you see kind of, some guy who's, it's in his 60s, and suddenly he's got to move 30 kilos, and you're like, Jesus, I mean, is he going to stand up after that? Like, he does not look well. Mm-hmm. So for me, that's when I'm kind of really thinking around, when I say strong, is like actually in everyday life, I want the ability to be able to just pick up and move what is a reasonable amount of weight. Like, I'm not saying I'm going to go move around
Sorry, Daniel, I
at
kind
the stones.
of threw things off. Wait, the way I like to reference it is I like to call it strongman weight, strongman strength. Because you get two different types of strength when I look at it. So you get power lifters that do like explosive power lifting. So it's like 1 rep maxes. But then when you see, and that's not what I'm after. That's not what I want to do. So I think you and I are very aligned, Rich, in terms of like the strength goals. It's like strongman strength because they lift heavy shit for a long period of time. So when you look at the competition of like strongmen competitions, they'll do like overhead presses, but they'll do like 12 to 15 reps of like a really heavy weight.
Yeah.
Or they'll do the truck pull for like 50 meters or 100 meters, or like the car. So it's that kind of strongman strength. It's like this, I don't know, like strong endurance. That's what I really go for. Because it's that being able to pick up a suitcase when you're older. It's the being able to carry your kids on your shoulders. It's that everyday physical strength that you can utilize, as opposed to being able to lift 700 kilos for 1 rep. That just doesn't appeal to me. But I mean, if that floats your boat, then go for it. But yeah,
I mean, the only thing that would do is send me to the emergency room. So no. But I totally get it. And by the way, I stalked your Instagram the other week. I didn't tell you this. I was watching your pistons, your single leg piston squats back in when you started. You I think you just really gone right. I've done 2. I want to make it to 10. And I watched. I was like that for me was like a really good and smart goal. Like it was like it's a bit nuts. Of course, the first thing I did was go outside, find a brick, and go, right, how many can I do? It turns out not as many as you. But I thought that was a really good definition. There's a really good definition of strength as well, right? It's a different type of strength, but it means your legs are incredibly strong for moving your own weight in that way.
So the pistol squats are like balance, ankle mobility, hip mobility, just everything. That's it. And like you don't realize how much strength you need in like single legs, or how much stronger one leg is to the other until you start doing unilateral work. So I started doing step ups on a regular basis, and my right leg is so much stronger than my left. It's crazy because we're always
like single leg box squats as well as a way of being able to kind of do some training around pistol squats. They're super hard.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't do one pistol squat. Pulling it back a little bit, I think you're onto something there, Lewis. I'll have a little bit of a think about that. I think that sort of kind of like macro kind of benchmark strength test, I think suits your training quite nicely because you have a lot of consistency around the things that you do. My training is more varied.
Yeah.
Jamie tends to switch the exercises up every block, not like absolutely completely. There's some consistent themes there. Like bench might be between 2 or 3 blocks, but then some exercises go, some come back. So actually all I really care about is each block, over the 3 to 4 weeks, am I able to put weight on the bar? Am I able to increase reps? And then if the exercises change up and I'm doing something different, I'm not that fussed. I just like, can I make progress in the next 4 weeks? But it is nice to have a kind of set of consistent, I think benchmarks is probably a pretty nice way of going about it. My training, very similar to Rich's, obviously. 3 full body weight sessions a week. Again, supersets. I do less volume than Rich, so 2 supersets are like an A1 and an A2, a B1 and a B2, and then a finisher, which usually is not super hit. It's more like functional. Usually lasts about 10 minutes or so. Gets the heart rate up a little bit, but it's more like supplementary work. So basically 3 of those, and I did those last week. They took, they took a solid hour and a half with a decent warm up, and they took it out of me. I thought they were going to be kind of pretty easy because I was looking forward to less high intensity stuff, but they're just hard in a different way. So 3 full body weights. I'm still going to do zone 2. I think it's important to kind of keep that kind of cardiovascular fitness, but I was doing between 2.5 and 3 hours per week. I'm going to pull that down to 1.5, 2 hours. And then steps, 10K as an average daily. And then trying to get kind of some mobility done, some stretching done, 15 to 20 minutes, 3 or 4 times a week. That's pretty much what it looks like. Compared to what it used to look like, obviously a much bigger focus on weights and strength, less cardio, and a bit more mobility. And we'll see how that goes. It feels and I haven't talked to Jamie about this yet, so I'll have a chat with him next time I speak to him. But I'd like to kind of sneak in a VO2 max session every 2 to 3 weeks. And I don't want to do them too regularly because I think it's going to take away from the goal of kind of gaining muscle. And actually, I don't want to do them too regularly because they're just horrible to do.
But you do feel amazing afterwards.
Yeah, you do. But it's not worth it.
Actually, just to go off, when you were saying earlier.
Yeah, go on.
So I was going to say, Lewis, I was saying earlier, like, do stuff you enjoy. And you mentioned it again just when you were talking then. I was like, actually, there's two things, right? There's what you enjoy doing in the moment and what you enjoy doing afterwards.
Yeah,
and VO2 Max is a great example of it. It's hell.
Yeah.
I mean, 4 minutes on, 4 minutes off. Like that one, the Peter Tier one, like 4 on, 4 off, 3 times. I mean,
have you tried it?
That's yeah, I did it. I did it literally. I think 2 days before I went on holiday on the bike, and
how horrible,
I want to throw up.
Yeah,
it's disgusting. Yeah. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
However, how good do you feel afterwards, and how long for? So there's an element of that which is always nice.
The thing for me is not so much how good I feel physically after. I think it's the mental part of knowing you've really pushed yourself, and it's like you leave it thinking like
you feel good for getting it done, right? Because it's an extreme amount of discomfort.
Yeah.
Like I have in the past pulled out, like for example, the 10-minute 10-minute max calories on the air bike. It's like longer period than VO2, but again, it's a horrible test, or a 2K row or something like that. And it's just like, it's an extreme amount of discomfort. And I've absolutely pulled out and chickened out like before the 10 minutes got out, because I'm like, I just can't do this. There's a mentality that's needed to get there. And when you actually do it, you're pretty proud of yourself for getting it done, because not too many people hit that level of discomfort and get to the end. Right. So yeah, like that's Rich's dog, I think. So yeah, I'm happy with the way that training program is structured. I think it's pretty holistic as well. You've got a weights component, you've got a zone 2 component, you've got a bit of VO2 max component, and there's a bit of mobility in there as well.
Sounds solid.
So,
sounds yeah. So I think for me, I'm going to ask you the same question you asked Rich then, because last week we spoke about injuries, and you've had your fair share. Are you concerned about any injuries, or now you're doing more, I guess, heavier potentially weights and less cardio or anything like that?
No, not at all.
No.
I feel in a great place. My body feels great.
Yeah, good.
I stick mostly to the rules that we talked about in our last podcast, right? Deload week every 4 weeks. For the most part, I'm training at 80% until I get to like the 3rd or 4th week where I'll test quite close. All of that stuff. So when I stick to that, it's like my body feels good and I don't push myself over the edge. And so I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, good.
The
nice
food bit is
long
probably going
warm-ups.
Yeah, nice long warm-ups as well.
You're warming up today for tomorrow. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes I just warm up and I get to the end. I was like, I got no time to work out. I've got to go back in now. The food bit's going to be the hardest. And I haven't really talked about the food, but I'll keep it super short. Like Rich, maintenance calories. I'm not trying to go kind of like on steroids here. Like, I'm happy to be at maintenance and just find what feels like a maintenance rate, and then I can go into a small surplus. So I'm pretty sure that based on what I know about my body and the last kind of like year or so of kind of learning stuff, 2,200 calories is going to be about my maintenance. And I'm going for protein 35, carbs 30, fat 35. But again, like 40, 30, 30, whatever, like they move around a little bit, but you're talking about close to 200 grams of protein. More carbs, a good 60-70% more carbs than I was doing before. I was eating under 100 grams of carbs every day. I'm now on, like, I should be hitting about 165, and fat just down a little bit. So the hardest bit there, really, I found from starting it last week, is feeling comfortable eating more carbs and more calories. Like, it feels bad to me because I've been trying to keep carbs low and calories low, and just trying to kind of keep that whole foods 80%, that 80-20 split. Like the biggest challenge for me, regardless of whether I'm on a deficit or whether I'm on a like this kind of like zone, is just sticking to my calories and macros and making sure that my food sources are good. Like, I know when I do that, I get results, and I know when I drift away from it, I don't get the results. So I think that's going to be the hardest thing for me, sticking to the food.
Have you felt any benefits of increasing your carbs? So I don't know if you've been on low carb for, I think really for a very long time. I think as long as we've been talking about this, you've been on low carbs. So have you felt any benefits the last couple of weeks? Have you kind of taken that up a bit?
Yeah, I think I've just, you know what it's like when you're in a deficit, right? Like by the time you get to the end of the week, it just feels a drain, and then you do it again, and then you do it again. And last week didn't feel like that. I just felt more normal. So yeah, like I know I need to do that for the weight sessions, but I just think, last week it felt very, very different to being in a deficit, having slightly more calories and slightly more carbs. So yeah, I haven't noticed any results. Obviously, it's only a week, but I'm noticing that I feel better. I still think I'm somebody that probably wants to keep carbs on the low side in general. So I don't want to go too crazy on it, but 166 grams of carbs is still not that mental. It's not that high. And then, when I'm on a kind of weight, or like a muscle gain program, ideally I probably want my carbs to be at more like 35%, maybe get as close to 200. But again, slowly, right? So we'll see how things go.
I always find I feel a bit sluggish when I go too high on carbs, though.
Yeah,
so I think it also depends on like your body type, right? On what you're used to, what you're accustomed. So I generally gravitate to just eating a lot more meat and protein and fat, but I'll have a bit of carbs. But I also love sugary food, and I think I mentioned this to you the other day, Daniel. So when I start, I can't stop, and I'm just an absolute glutton.
You had a Christmas pudding episode, right?
I did. I had a Christmas pudding.
Which is a strange thing to do in August.
That wasn't even the half of it. I was telling Daniel the other day. So on Saturday last weekend, I was fully off plan nutritionally, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it was just Saturday afternoon. We were watching football, and I got a snack. I was just fancied a snack, and I was like, "Oh, in the pantry, I think we've got a Christmas pudding from like Christmas." And I went, heated up a Christmas pudding, smashed it. Oh, I did tell you this. I didn't have any cream to put on top. This is how much of a fatty
whole milk on it.
I got condensed milk out of the pantry, and I poured some condensed milk over it. This is why I have to be like pretty on it, because I'm all or nothing.
I'm the same. I'm the same. I get so indulgent.
Yeah. And then
I'm not sure I could get to the condensed milk level of indulgent, though. I think that's a whole new level.
No, but I would have got in the car and gone to the shop and bought some
yeah.
So, I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this properly.
So, if I'm going to eat Christmas pudding in August, I'm going to eat Christmas pudding in August. It's got to have probably double cream.
Not many people have a Christmas pudding lying around in August. I'm just saying.
Actually, how did it survive till August?
Well, we get a few.
I
love Christmas pudding. So Christmas pudding is my dessert of choice over Christmas. So it's we'll
in August
4 or 5. Yeah. And there's always a leftover one. In my parents' house, there's always leftover. I could go into the cupboard now at my parents' place, and there'll be a Christmas pudding in the cupboard for sure. Leftover from Christmas. Good times.
Well, let's switch gears. Lewis. Where are you coming? Yeah, where are you coming from, and also what are your goals? Because they're shifting around a little bit as well.
Yeah, I have some really specific goals, and I think I'll probably talk back to it. So this time last year, I turned 40 in October, and I set myself a goal for like the previous 6 months before that to complete the Murph in under an hour. So the Murph is a CrossFit Hero WOD, for people that don't know what it is, which is a 1 mile run, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, another 1 mile run with a 20-pound weighted vest. And I was training for that with all of my weighted vest work. But then on one of my runs is when I fell and broke my thumb. So I did that like 3 weeks before my birthday. So the training was going, and then I stopped training for it. But then afterwards, I thought, I really want to. Oh, we're bringing it up. There you go. I love the share screen.
Getting fancy with this, huh?
That's good. So
I was going to put the CrossFit game. I was going to put the CrossFit Games one on, but
it's a good workout. It's a good workout. So I then realized though that I was doing it with 5 kgs when I was training for it last year, and I was like, I really need to get stronger. So my goal over the past 9 months has been, which you guys would have seen with my weighted vest, once my hand was better. So it was probably February, March time, I've really doubled down on the weighted vest work. So I've been slowly increasing it. to the amount of pull-ups, push-ups, squats I can do with the weighted vest. And the other week, so last week I think it was, I achieved what I was trying to work towards, which is being able to do 75 pull-ups and dips with a 13 kg vest. And I did that with 5 ladders of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's like a program that I kind of like created in a way, which I had a heavy day, a medium day. I do my 20 set days. And it was just constantly the focus was like really laser on getting stronger, but being really steady and progressive with it on those 3 exercises. Well, I say 3 exercises, mainly the 2, because I wasn't really going that heavy on squats because it's a 12 kg vest. You can't really go that heavy. Occasionally I'd add some kettlebells, but it was very much the pull-ups and the dips. That's what I really kind of honed in on. And then recently I was thinking, so I now achieved that and I was like, what do I want to do next? Which is why I was kind of thinking about it. And it's the Murph. I'm going to do the Murph. That's my goal, which is what I'm working towards.
It's the most perfect goal for your training.
Yeah, and I love it, which is part of the reason
Pull-ups,
why.
push-ups, air squats.
And and I think when I look at it, so I want to do it in under an hour. So under an hour is the goal, and with the 9 kg vest. And the reason why I really like that as a goal is it covers all bases for me. You need to be really physically fit to be able to do it, because you've got a 1 mile run at the beginning, a 1 mile run at the end, and then just the sheer volume that it takes. It's like you got to be in pretty decent shape to do it. And I like long-term goals. So I don't like having a goal that I'm going to achieve in like 8 weeks' time. I like something that I can set and forget. And it's this is something I'm going to work towards for the next 6 months. I don't care how long it takes, but just in my mind, that's how I like to operate. And that's the goal. And then I'll just slowly plod along and just be consistent and just kind of get there. And that's the goal. So that's one.
I love this goal. It's super cool.
Amazing. Yeah, it's inspirational. I want to join in. I'm not going to. This sounds too hard work, but
do it, mate. Do it body weight. It doesn't have to be with the vest to begin with. Even doing it body weight is like like doing 100 pull-ups in a session.
Yeah, it's insane.
Is a lot of pull-ups. 200 push-ups with the 2 mile run. It's a great workout, just even without the vest. It's like an awesome workout.
Just a couple of questions on that goal.
Yeah.
Do you know what your Murph is right now?
No. So I am going to test it. I decided that I was going to do it this week. So I'm going to test it probably on Saturday, if not Sunday. So this weekend, cool. I'm going to get out and test it.
You're going to test it with a 20 pound, with a 9 kg vest, right?
So 9 kg vest, I'm going to fully test it, time it, and see how I go.
Nice.
Cool. Live stream. I want to watch.
Yeah, I'm so interested.
Live stream it.
I'll have my
We'll do our own little mini CrossFit games.
That would be super interesting, having the heart rate monitor on. Seeing that would be interesting. How high my heart rate gets.
It's a lot of volume. That's a lot. And how do you feel any of that in your joints? Do you for example, your shoulders, or like how do you feel after doing it?
I'll probably feel it the next day, or for a couple of days when I do the full one. But because I've been so slow and steady with my weighted vest training over the past 4 or 5 months, I've built up a pretty decent resistance to it. So, and I use the rings. So I'm not going to do kipping pull-ups like they do.
Yeah, I was about to say, are you going to do strict?
It'll be strict pull-ups. Yeah. So, which will probably make it which will make it
harder.
But I'm going to do strict pull-ups just because I don't like messing about with the kipping. They're not proper pull-ups.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird because it's going to be hard to be. I mean, look, if you're just going to get a benchmark and then just set a decent goal, then it doesn't really matter. But a lot of the comparisons that you're going to like look at in terms of whether it's CrossFit and stuff like that, they'll all do kipping, right? So it's kind of like the way that you're approaching it is quite different, because the difference between doing kipping pull-ups and strict pull-ups is fundamentally different, like in your time.
Yeah, which is why I'm trying to give myself a goal of under an hour. And I've kind of broken it down. So if I can do 2 8-minute,
that sounds super punchy. I'm interested to see where your benchmark is, because the top CrossFit Games athletes achieve it in 35 minutes with kipping.
Yeah. So I reckon, yeah.
What's the sorry, and just as I've never done CrossFit, so obviously I watch the games and do a lot of the movements. I've never done it. So between kipping and strict, like, would it be like twice as hard, Like, for example, if let's say it's 100 kipping, would you be looking at making that 50 strict or 30 strict? Like, what would the
I reckon maybe say 65.
Is there a
60, 65? Maybe not quite twice as hard.
I think when I was doing kipping at the CrossFit gym, I could probably pull off about 5 or 6 at that time, about 5 or 6 kind of strict. and kipping you can get to about kind of like 12, 13 or something like that.
Double.
So I don't know. They are significantly kind of easier.
Yeah.
So maybe I just do 50.
That's why they do them in those.
I'm just curious. When you look at your time, let's say you came in at like, an hour and 5, but if you did 50 strict versus 100, you came in at 55. Like there's just there's some maths there with regards to your targeting.
So that's
cool.
one goal, but I've also got a couple others. The other one is being able to do 10 unbroken muscle ups.
Okay. Nice.
So at the moment, I could probably do 4, and it
rings or bar?
Bar. So on the bar, and so I'm going to try and do 10 unbroken muscle ups, just because. Why not? I'm kind of changing things up a bit, and I'm kind of throwing caution to the wind a bit, and not being so conservative with my not wanting to get so injured, and being I'm just going to go out there and see how far I can go with a few of these things. So that's where I'm.
And are you doing the muscle ups? Are you doing the muscle ups on your pull-up bar against the house?
Yes.
So are they strict muscle ups then? Like, so you're not doing the kipping muscle ups?
It's not entirely kipping, but it's not entirely strict. There's a bit of a kip, but the wall is too close for me to go fully kipping.
Yeah, I was about to say.
So they are a little bit
somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, it's kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
And then the other goal is
a great goal. It's no joke doing 10.
It's no joke. And then the other one's increasing my VO2 max. So I've currently on the air bike, so the assault bike, Echo bike, I can do my VO2 max tested is like 62 RPM. I want to get that up to 65. And it's like based on weight and wattage. And again, that's a really long-term goal. And that's just something that I focus, because to increase your VO2 max is not easy and takes a lot of time on the air bike or running or whatever it is that you're choosing to do. So that'll be just another one. So I've just got a couple of nice long-term goals for the next 6 to 9 months that I'm just going to plod along with.
Nice goals.
Love the Mirth goal. I think that's such a nice goal to work towards.
Thanks, man. I'll let you know.
So it's a really that'll feel amazing when you get that. Even if it takes a couple of attempts, when you get that, it'll feel amazing.
Because it's the journey that I enjoy. So it's that knowing that you've put in a fair bit of time to get somewhere. And so, as I was saying, I'm feeling quite up for it now, because I've really clearly decided in my mind that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to work towards it.
So how are you going to shift your training around to achieve those goals?
It's going to be really similar. So 3 days of weighted vest or muscle up. So it's going to be a push. So I always just structure really simply. There'll be a pulling exercise, which will be either the muscle ups or the weighted vest pull-ups. There'll be a pushing exercise, which will be push-ups or maybe weighted dips. And then there's squats. So I'm going to do double kettlebell squats and goblet squats, VMO squats. So I just keep same pattern really. So 3 days a week. And I will be doing the air bike sessions 3 days a week. So I pretty much train 6 days a week now.
But how often are you going to test the Mirth?
I'm not going to test it that often. I'll be doing the Mirth training with the weighted vest 3 days a week or twice a week, and say the muscle up and pistols like the other day. I'll probably test it once a month, but I'll vary the volume. So the way I'll probably do it is like one day I'll do 10 sets of 5, 10, 15. I think I'm always going to try and structure it with 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 squats. So I'll vary the volume throughout the week. So one day I'll probably do 10 sets, which will get me 50 pull-ups, 100 push-ups, 150 squats. Another day I might do 14 rounds to get me 70. Another day, if I'm feeling like I need to back up a bit, I might do 8. And then I'll just constantly play around with it. And if some days I'm feeling a bit fruitier, I might try and do the 20 sets, but I won't always time it. It will just be just building up the work capacity. So I'll probably test it.
What about the running?
I was going to ask about the running. You're going to do
what about the running? So obviously you're a massive air bike advocate, right?
Yeah.
So is running kind of, you're going to creep that back in, drop that out, drop the air bike out a bit for the running?
I'm going to see how...
Just go with it because it's not that far anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to see how I go just with the air bike, doing the air bike workouts 3 days a week. I might go for the odd run before the workout, but then for the one after, I guess the way I to share is, so I train at home, in the morning first thing because I've got the kids at home. So I've got the 3 kids. So I can't really go for the run because they tend to wake up at like 6 a.m. or 5:30 once I'm downstairs. So they'll then go and wake up my wife and bother her. So I like to be in the house, and then they come downstairs, they see me. So so the runs I'll probably try and do if I can sneak it in, like a workout at lunchtime or something. Or if I'm up at 5 and I'll go do the run before, then do my pull-ups and then finish on the air bike. So I'm going to do a little bit more running. But I think because it's just a mile and I'm doing a lot of work on the air bike, I think it should transfer.
I personally wouldn't even sweat it. I remember a while back, at one point I ran. I was doing running quite a bit, and then I stopped. And then I basically just did CrossFit with a lot of air bike. And then I remember picking up running, and I was super surprised with, like, normally when I would run and then you stop for a while, you really regress and you have to go back to the beginning again. You normally got to walk, run to build it back up. And I was super surprised with that. My actual level was superior versus when I last ran. So I think like the cardiovascular you're going to build on the air bike, particularly with VO2 max and stuff like that, is going to be super transferable.
The thing is, it's probably not the cardiovascular risk, is it? Because that's fine. It's going to be more the movement on the hip and the joint and the adductors and the impact.
Yeah.
Because if you suddenly go smash that mile, and because you're going up against time, and if you're anything like me, that's going to be a quick mile, right? If we've got time, we've got to get this done in the hour.
Yeah.
You can't be dawdling. You're going to put your foot down a little bit, and all that impact is just not something you're going to be used to. So I don't know. I feel like maybe once a week getting out for a mile at a fast pace is probably going to kind of be useful to do.
I think where I'll probably feel it is on my ankles and my calves. Yeah.
It's those annoying little bits, isn't it? Yeah.
I need to do a bit.
I just remember because I went out. This is a few weeks ago now. I did some hill sprints for the first time in ages, and I was destroyed. Not cardio wise, that just was not a concern. It was the adductors and the kind of the ankles and the hips were just, it's just different to being on the bike.
Yeah.
It's just
it
hurt.
I'll let you guys know.
Like for 5 days it hurt.
I'll keep you posted.
Are you changing your food around?
No, so I'm pretty much eating at maintenance. I've been a bit off the plan for the past couple
Christmas
of weeks.
pudding.
But Christmas pudding,
Christmas
Ben
pudding
and Jerry's
aside.
the other day, just like all the good stuff. So I'm just trying to get...
We'll put a link in the show notes to good places to buy Christmas puddings.
I mean, that's going to be the new thing, isn't it? Yeah, your carb loading for your Murph is Christmas pudding.
Why did you not document it? I want to see a picture of you with just like a whole Christmas pudding and condensed milk poured over it. Just with a spoon.
It's not a good sight. And
in the Australian sunshine in August.
It's very strange. So, nutrition-wise, much the same. So, eating at maintenance, just keeping an eye on things, trying to be fairly consistent.
Love it.
I was going to throw something in here
awesome.
in terms of like the training. I was going to, because we're talking about training and a lot of other things, and I know we're at time, but I think what would probably be quite good to share as well, though, is if we have any personal goals as well. And I think I'm looking at your faces and they're like, oh, geez, where's he going with this? But I think because we focus on a lot of the training that we're doing and nutrition and other bits and pieces, but there's another part to us as well, though, which is we're all like husbands and dads and other pieces as well. So I think just what I was going to share, which I think was awesome, was the newsletter that you sent through last week, Daniel, and the point that you made around the article around presence. And it really resonated with me around how much time we spend thinking about the future and like planning for things going forward. So as well as the, nutrition, diet, training, all that kind of stuff, something I'm also thinking of like looking at is like really being present in the moment, because it really resonated with me. And a lot of the time I could be thinking forward, like, what job should I do next? What career plan am I doing? Like, what holidays should we move out? Like, instead of actually just really enjoying the current moment. So I thought I'd share that as well, because that's something I'm going to be thinking about, just enjoying the here and now, or trying to anyway.
Nice. I like it. I mean, like that article was like resonated a lot with me. The Sam Harris, it was a transcript of a talk he did. And it's actually pushed me back into meditation. I subscribe for his Waking Up app. So That is something I'm trying to get back into as well.
Has that helped?
I've only done it kind of 2 or 3 times in the last week or so. It's a habit that I find really, really, really hard to string together.
Meditation.
But I want to give it another go. So yeah, we'll see whether that sticks.
It was a good article. Thank you for sharing that. Did you read it, Rich?
All right, man.
Resonate with you at all?
No, and I wouldn't either. And I won't meditate.
Rude.
I mean,
Rude.
I'm not that deep, Lewis. I'm a very simple being.
Gotta have a bit of
give him his
there.
chicken and his steak and his
just feed me and let me go.
Fair enough.
All right. Cool. So what we'll do is we'll mark a kind of point 8 weeks in the future, and we'll have a chat about how we're doing. And Lewis, your goals are actually kind of much more measurable than probably how me and Rich talked about it. I love the fact that they're kind of very performance focused, and you've got a very clear black and white, this is what I'm trying to achieve. So it's going to be really interesting to sort of have a chat in 8 weeks' time and see how me and Rich are moving towards our kind of muscle gain and strength goals, but also, particularly your Murph goal and your other kind of performance goals. It's going to be interesting to see how close you are to them.
I love that Murph goal. In fact, I'm sitting here thinking, my Sunday endurance cardio session, I'm actually going to have a crack at the Murph and see how hard it really is, just so I can kind of sit back and kind of cheer you on for the sidelines, because it sounds hard, but also awesome.
Do it, man, because that kind of touches on your competitive side, doesn't it? Yeah.
You don't even want to unlock that. It's the biggest problem I actually have. I wasn't in your injury podcast last week, which is good because my list is endless. And the common theme is that I get carried away and get competitive, and then push myself and injure myself. It's good that I don't get involved. But I think of all of our goals in this conversation, yours is by far the one that feels to me the most motivating. I think.
My goals compared to yours, Lewis, that they feel a bit fuzzy. And actually, I think that's okay, because for me, I've actually, as you were talking about your goals, I actually got more excited about your goals than mine. But I have to remind myself that those goals would not be smart for me.
Yeah.
I know that what you're approaching, and for me to have 2 concrete goals, particularly around kind of strength and movement, that they move me towards injury. Absolutely. So I think, but there is something about the concrete nature of them and the sort of performance nature of them that's super sexy. It's they sound real cool. I wouldn't mind having a crack at that, but I'd get about 10% along and I'd injure my back and it wouldn't be good. So no, I'm happy with my fuzzy goals.
Or an air bike goal. Because you've got the goals on the air bike, haven't you? I know that's not aimed at the strength, but it could be something that wouldn't be as impactful. It could be
Well, the VO2 max could be something as well, right? So I'll do that. I hadn't even thought about how to measure the VO2 max one, but I'll do the 4 minute on, 4 minute off. I'll basically copy exactly what you do, and I'll have a chat to you about how you actually find how. I don't know whether it's just cadence or whether you do the watts and the weight and stuff, but I'll find a way of being able to kind of get my number. And then improving that. That's probably one decent concrete thing for me to kind of add to it as well. So I'll do that.
Your goal's only fuzzy because at the moment it's kind of body composition focus, which is hard to be accurate. I think as soon as you're in it and you start putting numbers on the movements, it won't become fuzzy anymore. You'll be able to kind of go, especially work with Jamie or whatever.
But I think also, this is another podcast entirely, so we'll wrap in a sec. But in the last 2 or 3, no more than that, 5 years, I've actually let go of trying to have very specific goals in my life. I'm generally not happy when I have a set of really concrete goals for the future, and I prefer to kind of relax up a little bit and make sure that I'm generally heading in the right direction. And I have a structure of a document that I write that kind of this is what I want to be and this is where I want to be moving, but I'm really clear to not have specific goals because they change and blah blah blah. It just doesn't make me happy. So I'm actually still pretty happy that they're not that specific now that I think about it more.
That would be an interesting podcast.
They're super aspirational the way you laid them out.
That would be an interesting podcast though around the goal setting, and because of the way you're wired,
we should do one in the future.
I think it probably just adds too much focus and pressure on you. Maybe it's I have these goals and I have to do that. So I really like performance goals. So personally, it doesn't impact me. I like to have something really specific that I'm kind of. So I think it does tend. It depends on the person and how you're wired, but it'd be interesting to kind of talk it through because everyone.
Totally.
operates in a different way.
Let's save that one for another episode, and let's wrap.
Done.
As usual, have a good night's sleep, Lewis.
Cheers, guys. Good catch up.
Stay out of the pantry.
Yeah, there's no more Christmas pudding.
Is there no more? They're gone now.
I made sure.
Completely gone? No more. Don't get any more in until Christmas. That's what most people do.
Daniel, let's offline. Let's send him a parcel.
All right.